Hello team, welcome to another ATP Geopolitics video with myself, Jonathan MS Pierce. Ukraine War breaking news update, although it's one that I did report on in my hits and losses video first thing today. This is news that the Ukrainians are potentially breaking through across the border into the Belgorod Oblast, very close to the Kursk Oblast, where they are presently on the back foot. Now, everything I'm going to say, take with a massive pinch of salt. There's a tendency to over-report these things and go, yay, look at this, and championing the gains of Ukrainians if you are pro-Ukrainian. I am pro-Ukrainian, but I don't want to be inaccurate or overblow things. So I don't know what the reality is here, but there are lots of people reporting this. I also think it's interesting that this is happening so close to the Kursk sector. Now, part of the problem with the Kursk sector, if we go there now, is that when it was at its largest, it was going towards Lvov, and it looked a bit like this, and they tried to widen it by taking this area to the west up to the river here, the Sal River, and Grushkovka area, and it didn't work out for them, and that would have given them a natural barrier of the river. And they were hoping to go as far as a place called Koronova there. And in the end, they didn't manage to do that. And so therefore, it was quite narrow. And being quite narrow, the downfall of the Kursk sector, the attack by the Ukrainians there, was that unfortunately, the logistics lines got hit. Because if you've got a narrow incursion into foreign territory, you can hit the middle of it from the sides rather easily. And so what you really need is a much wider basis from which to move forward. And they just didn't manage to get that. So if the Ukrainians are attacking, the question is this a major offensive? Is it just a minor little raid on a village? Is it involving huge numbers of personnel and equipment? Is it wide enough to sustain counterattacks from the sides, etc., etc.? I guess we don't know yet. What are the reports? Well, we are hearing that an area is being evacuated. 100% evacuation announced by the district administration is taking place, according to Russian sources, in Belgorod's Krasnoyarushki district. According to the sources, this was announced via loudspeaker, and they were urged to leave by buses. At the same time, judging by the reports, not everyone heard the information. People are calling emergency lines to make sure that it really is necessary to evacuate. And there is smoke and whatnot coming from there. So what's the area we're talking about? Well, it is around this place called Domodo, am I right? Demidovka. Yes, so 2 enemy tanks are on the outskirts of the village. Of course, that doesn't sound like a lot, but we don't know what this represents. Heavy fighting is underway at Demidovka. This is also a Russian source saying the enemy has stepped up its actions on the border of Belgorod. The fighting has intensified. Both sides are actively using artillery and drones. There are reports of close air support or air activity from the Ukrainians. After demining, the Ukrainian Armed Forces infantry under cover of armoured vehicles tried to break through in the direction of Grafovka. Okay, so let's have a look at these two places. So you've got the what was the Kursk sector here. And then as we come further to the south, we come along the Russian border and we get to just round the corner here, we get to Demidovka there and Grafovka. So this is apparently where there are attacks across the border from obviously the west there. Now, that's what you can see in that map, and indeed in that map too. That's Grafovka and Demidovka just above it. What else can we note? So that's where the Kursk activity has been taking place, and coming down the border as we just did, this is where the activity is now taking place. Demidovka, Grafovka, and a few places around there. Z channels are whining, says this Ukrainian source or pro-Ukrainian source. That 2 Ukrainian brigades have entered Belgorod Oblast. So the claim here is there are 2 brigades of Ukrainian troops. An evacuation's been announced in that whole district. As you can see by this map, local authorities have not made any official statements, but Z channels are fueling the panic about potential breakthrough of Ukrainian forces in the region. That's coming from next to there. Russian telegram channels reporting a new Ukrainian attack into the northwest corner of Belgorod, says Colby Badwar. This Russian source says the current situation in the Belgorod border area, the enemy has dug a ditch in Mariino. So Mariino is, as far as I can work out, it's a small, here it is. That's comes up there as Mariino there. And that is just across the border from Grafovka and Demidovka. So the source says the enemy has dug a ditch in Mariino with the help of engineering vehicles. The infantry is already on our side. They are trying to advance towards Demidovka. We approached the Dragon's Teeth. Our artillery and everything we have are working hard on the enemy. Several armored fighting vehicles, infantry fighting vehicles and engineering equipment have been destroyed. So that's a claim there from the Russian. The enemy's goal is to reach the paved road, they say. 2 enemy tanks are on the outskirts of the village of Demidovka, as we heard. Heavy fighting's underway. Then there is a supposed picture of a Ukrainian column. Have absolutely no idea of the provenance of that and what it kind of means, but there are claims that Ukrainians are moving at least some mechanized equipment into Belgorod. It's being reported that Ukrainian troops have broken through the Russian border into Belgorod, as mentioned there. All the similar sorts of claims. Russian channels have reported that the Ukrainians have launched an offensive in the Belgorod region. They write, by nightfall, the Ukrainians have brought equipment and personnel to the section of the border near the junction of the Belgorod and Kursk regions, awaiting confirmation. And if we go back to my map, you can see here that I'm pretty sure that's is that the Oblast border there, and so you can see it's very close to there. It's very close to the Kursk sector. So if they are attacking there in any meaningful way, of course that makes it easier for the Russians to get their own troops from this sector and redirect them over to the Ukrainian attack. Then you could argue, if it is a large enough attack, they could be trying to have a wide base by joining up to where they've got across the border in the southernmost part of the Kursk sector. But of course, you've got a bit of a difficult kind of border area here that doesn't make it particularly easy to have that kind of width. But I don't know. It might just be small scale attacks. It's very difficult to say at this early juncture. But it does seem to be being reported quite a lot today. We just don't know. False report about Ukrainian attack on the Belgorod region is part of Russia's information war, says CIA head Kovalenko. It's not CIA head, he's the head of disinformation. Their main information strategy is to accuse Ukraine of a lack of willingness to end the war. Although it is Putin who's delaying Trump's ceasefire proposal, it's all very primitive but quite typical of Russians. So it could well be Russian disinformation, or at least overblowing maybe deep reconnaissance group attacks that are quite commonplace along the border, although it's usually the Russians that are doing that. What else do we have? So Krasnaya Yaruga here is a place nearby. Let's go and put that on the map, and we'll get a sense of where that is. That is just, you can see that there, Krasnaya Yaruga. So you got Grafovka, Demidovka, and then inwards to a larger degree, and it's a larger settlement itself, Krasnaya Yaruga, and that's a whole district that's been supposedly evacuated. That's a claim. If we go back to here, the claim is Krasnoyaya Ruzhki district. I think that's that whole, and you can see from this map that Krasnaya Yaruga is right in there. So that whole district could well have been evacuated. So it might well be the Ukrainians actually pushing in and doing this in a major sort of way. So that is that. Russian sources report that the Ukrainians, this is from 13 minutes ago, OSINT Intuit. The Ukrainians launched a missile strike on a column and concentration of Russian equipment and personnel in Krasnaya Yaruga. A result is multiple dead and injured. Most likely it was reinforcements heading to the border near Grafovka in Belgorod. So that could well be something that's happened. And then Ukrainians have tried to penetrate into Belgorod but have been repelled with serious casualties without even reaching the Russian border, says this particular pro-Russian source using Russian mill bloggers as their evidence. So it's going to be pretty murky what's going on at the moment, but rest assured, I think something is happening in the Belgorod region. Now, there's one other claim. So this map is being thrown around by quite a lot of sources as if this is where it's taking place in Belgorod, but this is somewhere else. So if you're thinking, okay, this is the area that we're talking about, Krasnaya Yaruga, Grafovka and Demidovka there. If we come much further to the south and then come along to the east, we get our two sectors inside Kharkiv Oblast, down from Belgorod, south of the Belgorod city, the city of Belgorod. And this map is claiming that the Ukrainians are pushing in between those two sectors, coming up sort of behind Vovchansk, if you like. This is being thrown around, and not many people are saying anything about this. They're just attaching it to the claims about Belgorod, just in general. But then this particular source of Visionaire says, on top of all the Grafovka area, the most interesting direction is in Kharkiv, in the rear of the Russian forces that have invaded the Vovchansk settlement. If the Ukrainian attack is confirmed, it's likely planned to encircle the Russian bridgehead and expel Russian forces from Kharkiv. But I don't know. I think that might be just the wrong map that people have been saying, oh, the Ukrainians could be attacking there. So I've seen no real evidence that there is that attack going on. I mean, it would be interesting. I do wonder what the Ukrainians have thought about this whole area. It's been in stasis for a long time. Just watch out for that if you're looking at the socials. And most of the information is concerning this region here. Anyway, that's it for the time being. Not a lot of solid information coming out about that. So as a result of there not being a lot of solid information, do obviously take it with a healthy, nutritional pinch of salt. In the meantime, though, take care and I'll speak to you soon.